Most business owners don't struggle because they lack ideas. They struggle because nothing is actually implemented consistently. And without systems, growth quickly turns into overwhelm. Now, welcome back to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we explore how coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs can grow their business through smarter strategy, stronger positioning, and systems that actually support sustainable success. Now, I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Cori Fonville Foster. She is an implementation strategist, transformational speaker, certified business coach, and founder and CEO of IROC Marketable Business Solutions. Now, she specializes in helping entrepreneurs move from the ideas and inspiration into disciplined, profitable execution, aligning their marketing, operations, and internal systems so that their business can actually scale without constant chaos. So this episode is called System Implementation for Small Businesses: How to Build Scalable Systems on a Budget while defining success on your own terms. And look, if any of the listeners out there, if you've ever felt like you've got all the ideas, but nothing is running as smoothly as it should, or that growth is creating more pressure instead of more freedom, this conversation is going to give you a much clearer way forward. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Cori.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
So look, let's hear a little bit about your backstory. Was there a moment where you realized that most entrepreneurs don't have a strategy problem, they have an implementation problem?
Absolutely. I actually started this business as a VA, as virtual assistant. So I was being hired by amazing entrepreneurs that were in their first, I would say, 5 years of business, hadn't quite hit that six-figure mark. And they had tons of ideas, tons of amazing ideas, tons of products that they wanted to put out into the world. And they all had the same issue: they weren't getting it done. And so they would come to me and say, oh my gosh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. We would talk about it, we'd be excited. And I would say, yes, that sounds great. And a month later, they would come back and say the same thing. And so I started saying, okay, I know you want to do this thing, but how do you want to get it done, right? What systems do we have in place to get this done? What software are we using? What connections do we have? So I started asking some really kind of important questions, and we started creating plans that were created plans so that they were able to actually execute these amazing visions that they had. And the plan was different for different people, right? Some people, if they just get somebody to watch them, they'll do it. Some other people may need a task list. Other people may need folks to do it for them, but we worked together to make sure we had a plan for them to actually get things done. And then they saw, once they started getting things done, that momentum started to hit, and very quickly they were able to grow and scale their businesses.
Brilliant. And isn't it interesting that you said something back there that sort of really hit home, is that people can have all these ideas, but somehow something is stopping them from actually implementing, stepping out and actually creating the posts, actually posting them. None of it's going to work unless they actually take action. And yes, having systems in place does make life so much easier. So when someone comes to you feeling a little bit overwhelmed or scattered, what is the first system you help them put in place to create immediate clarity?
Yeah, the first thing we do is actually not even dive into tons of system work. I want to find out, why are we not doing it? Why are we not already doing it? Because a lot of times people have what they would consider a system, right? And the system may be something as simple as they think it and they try to do it, right? But I ask them, like, why do you think you're not getting this done? What is it, a mental block? Is it a, people always say they are fear of failure. And I'm like, sometimes it's a fear of success. So is it a
Mm.
mental block causing us not to move? It is a time commitment. Sometimes we have to do a time audit. Is it a time issue? Is it a skill set issue? Because again, the answer to the problem is not always cut and dry. It's not one size fits all. So it's important to, before we even dive into systems, to really dive into why the issue is there in the first place. Because once we acknowledge that and we can say, okay, seems to be the roadblock we need to get through, then we can create a plan to actually conquer that issue. But if we just say, oh, everybody's not getting it done because they're lazy, then we create a system for laziness, but the person may not be lazy. They may be overwhelmed because they're doing 1,000 other tasks, and this new project or launch is getting lost in the weeds.
Oh, and that I can totally relate to that. And this is the problem, isn't it? They're having to wear so many different hats. And if they are a coach, that's what they actually want to do. That's what they signed up for. That's what they got qualified in. That's what they want to actually do, is coach clients. And unfortunately, when you're in business, you're in sales for starters. So if you don't have a sales process in place, if you don't have a marketing process in place, I think they all think that then if they're not putting stuff out, if they're not staying visible, they're going to be the best kept secret. Nobody's going to get any clients, right? That way, because there's only two ways in my head that you can get clients, right? You've either got to do organic marketing, which means you've got to be visible consistently, or you're running paid ads. You're either spending your time or you're spending your money. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people come in and they think, but organic marketing is, oh, they're just going to come to me. They're going to instantly know exactly what it is I do. And that quite clearly isn't the case. When it comes to visibility, because I suppose that is step one. If people don't know who you are and what it is you do, then you're not going to get anybody. So what are some of the things, what's the sort of the top tip that you can offer the listeners to actually get started? And I know everybody is different. Some people will do video, some people will just do audio, some people will write. There's lots of different ways. But what can you give the listeners to help them actually take action?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I like that you talked about consistency, right? Because, and this is why I like to customize my approach depending on the individual, because it isn't just, oh, go out here, post 10 times a day. It's what can you actually do consistently. So, yes, for visibility's sake, I do encourage you to be on social media. And if you have the bandwidth to be on multiple platforms consistently, I do suggest it, because people will engage with you on the platforms that they prefer. So if they already like Instagram, they're going to be on Instagram. If they already engage with YouTube, they're going to be on YouTube. If they are very professional, they may be on LinkedIn. So make sure you're thinking about where you can be consistently, but also where is your audience. And then it's nothing wrong with doing some competitor research to see what types of content are your competitors putting out and how often. That will also help you gauge how much content you should be putting out. But again, I'm going to mention it over and over consistently. If you cannot be consistent on 5 platforms, then only do 2. And then making sure that you're putting out tons of value. People don't want to be sold to all the time. Yes, we're in a selling business because that's how we keep our businesses going. But people want to feel seen. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to see themselves in your content. So even if you're not posting as much as you might like, if you're really thinking about being value centered, client centered first, that's still going to push your visibility out there. And don't be afraid to try different media forms. So if you don't like your face being shown, then yeah, do some audio content. If you like more long form talking, like I'm a chit chatter, you might want to do more long form YouTube content. If you want to get in and get out, maybe some quick videos or reels on Instagram or Snapchat or stories, however you want to do it. So figure out what works best for you. But remember, the key is consistency.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, you're so right. I think a lot of people feel that they have to do everything, and you don't. And yes, different things will suit different personalities. So which is why there are so many different ways to get clients, right? Because every way works for different people. There isn't just one way. So you've got to find the right fit for you. And what would you say to, I hear some people saying, just master one social media platform. Don't try and be everywhere at once. And then there are other people that talk about, and I do tend to say, if you're creating the content, put it out everywhere, omnipresence. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so I've heard people be successful in both lanes, right? And that's why you're hearing both of these kind of different takes or pieces of advice. In this day and age, realistically, if you, like you said, if you make the content once, you definitely can repurpose it. There's so many amazing tools out there, like a Buffer, a Hootsuite, a Later.com, even like in Canva, Meta Scheduler. There's so many scheduling tools that will allow you to take that one reel that you created and post it over multiple platforms, right? We live in a time period of AI where, say, you write a blog, you can take that blog, tell your co-pilot or whatever AI tool you like to then take this content and make 5 posts out of it. You can tell it to make a video out of it. You can tell it to give you a script for a YouTube longer form content. Heck, you can have it build you a course out of that content. So we do have a lot of ability to get a lot of content out pretty quickly, but I'm just going to keep going back to consistency. If you're not techie, or if you don't have the time, or maybe you don't have the funds to get one of these maybe paid for tools, then yes, if you want to start with mastering one, that's fine. But we also have to remember that our competitors are probably doing all the platforms, right? They're probably also using paid ads. So we have to remember that we are somewhat competing, but we can still, there's still going to be a lane for us. So you may not grow as fast as you might like if you're doing the, I'm going to focus on one platform at a time, but that's okay, because when you master that one platform, you're still going to get results. You're still going to get people purchasing from you, and then you can build on that. So don't feel bad if you're the, let me get my foot in the door, let me try this out type of person. Just have it already in your mind that you want to build on it. And if you're that person that's, hey, I'm going to go for all of it, just again, be strategic so that you can be consistent on those platforms as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you're right, there are just so many tools out there. I've got one collaboration with the PLR.me and the AI Playground, and it's just things are moving so fast. People are so afraid to use AI because they think they're losing their authenticity. But actually, the opposite is becoming true. You can insert so much about you, your business, your conversational style. You can upload stuff that you've already created. So the AI really learns your voice, and then ask it to create a ton of content that isn't going to sound AI-y, if there is such a word. So in this day and age, you're right. There's no excuse not to be able to create content, but people are still not doing it. So what belief do people need to let go of before they can actually commit to using these tools or using systems and consistency in their business?
Yeah, I think that the first belief I would love people to just stop doing is this idea of, if I give it away for free, people won't pay me for it.
Ah,
Yes, I find a lot of people are like, if I put all this content out on social media, then why would they buy my course, or why would they join my coaching program? Guys, you have to remember, you are industry experts, right? Industry leaders, innovators in your space. You have spent years probably cultivating your education. You probably have spent money on all the education and the insights that you have. You have the lived experience. It doesn't matter if you post 1,000 times a day, you will never give all the information out that you have inside of you. Also, remember, everybody isn't reading everything you put out. They're not seeing every piece of content. And so we want to make sure that there is enough for your audience to see that you are an amazing expert, that you know what you're talking about, so you can build that kind of credibility that know and trust. And then I promise you, they're going to want more. They're going to want more. They're going to see, hey, if I can get this small win with the free stuff they're putting out, let me pay them some money so I can get a massive win out of what they're teaching. And so I think that's that first limiting belief that stops people from putting out information, putting out that content, starting to send emails and make those connections, as they're thinking, again, why would they pay me? And I'm telling you, get that out of your head now. Start putting out that content, start putting out value, start making those connections, because people are going to want to work with you.
oh, you're preaching to the choir. Love that. Cori, everything you've just said there is So correct. I really wish people would come away from this thing of they might think they've got to create a lead magnet and they're not going to spend any time on it because they want to collect the emails and nurture the. Oh my goodness, come away from that, guys. No, the more you can give people of value, and yeah, I agree. Don't give it away for free. But my course is $5. It's not expensive, but it means they've made a commitment. There's a big difference to free, even if it's just $5. But then what we do is we absolutely over deliver, and we do not hold back. We don't hold back on any secrets, because you're so right. If people have an immersive experience, I truly believe that if it resonates with them and it is the right fit for them, they're going to want you to help implement it, and which is exactly what you do. You're an implementation strategist. And unfortunately, a lot of people can't do it on their own. And there's no shame in asking for help. Guys, if I can get that through to people, honestly, you will save time. You need strategies, you need systems. Trust me, don't try and figure it, alone. Go to Cori, have her help you actually put it into action. You're going to save a lot of time and you're going to get there a lot quicker. And if more people took that on board, they would find success a lot quicker. I totally get that. Now, I know a lot of people think that they need more time. They need more time, more money, or a team before they can build systems. I don't agree with that. So what would you say to someone who's trying to do this on a tight budget?
Yeah, I think that's another great question, because I do think people limit themselves by saying, I can't afford to get help or don't know where my time is going. I would say, firstly, figure out where you're falling short. Figure out what support you actually need, right? Again, this is 2026, so you have a lot of options. You don't have to do everything yourself, but you also don't have to break the bank to get support. So a few things here to consider. One is just tidying up your systems yourself. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to do it by myself, something that can definitely save you time is creating those standard operating procedures, those SOPs, so that when you go to do something, you know exactly the steps to take to do the same things over and over again. The second thing would be to put systems or software in place to help you. So those are SAP, standard automated procedures. If there is something that you can do and schedule it ahead of time, or kind of put it on autopilot with the software or a system, then do this will also save you time. And then the last kind of tip to kind of get things off your plate is to outsource. A lot of people who are just starting out or have really tight budgets will say, I can't afford help. Oftentimes you can't afford not to get help. There are a lot of budget friendly options, such as starting with a VA, which is a virtual assistant. You can sometimes find a virtual assistant that will work with you for $5-7 an hour. You just have to be really strategic about what you're choosing to outsource. Don't give them things that are not going to move you closer to your revenue or client centered goals. A lot of people will just give them busy work and then wonder why they're not seeing more revenue, because you're not giving them the right types of tasks. So keep that in mind. But those are the three or four things I think you should think about. Again, if you do it yourself, those SOPs, so you can have that plan in place. If you're going to incorporate systems or automation through software, that's a great thing too. And then, of course, outsourcing. A lot of times you can find people who will support you, who are amazing at what they do, that can get you closer to those revenue goals, such as a virtual assistant or a graphic designer or a project manager or an executive assistant. It just depends on what you need, but be very strategic about it.
And actually really be specific in what you expect them to do. I think some people think that they're going to take on a VA and they're just going to do everything. You've got to train them. You've got to let them know your specific way of doing things, and they'll do it. It really is simple as that. And I love what you just said there about actually, can you afford not to? Because at the end of the day, the way I see it, if you want to be successful, and look, I get it, because I've been there and I've gone through the same sort of thought processes. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? And, and now I can look back and go, maybe if I did that back then, I would have got here a lot quicker. But every company you work for, if you had a job and you work for any company, they have the whole team. They've got the HR department, they've got the marketing department, they've got the sales team, they've got everything, all the different hats that you think you've got to wear. You don't. Don't try and be the expert in everything, because you're not, and you never will be. Hire people that are better than you, right, at doing that specific task. That is the way you're going to grow. Look, Cori, who are the kinds of businesses that you're looking out for? Who are the sort of businesses that you currently work with? And what should the listeners do next if they're thinking to themselves, okay, maybe it's time I took action on this?
Yeah, my company, IROC Marketable Business Solutions, focuses on working with small business owners, mostly coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors who have not yet hit their first six figures. And don't worry, even if you just have a business idea, that's actually the best time to come in and work with us, because we can help you before you spend all the money and make all the mistakes. And our goal, just like we've been talking about this whole episode, is we help you implement. So you can have different things that you want to implement. We have people who want to be a published author, people who want to speak on stages, people who want to launch a course, people who want to evoke change in their communities. Our goal is to take that vision and make it a reality. And we do that through a few different ways. We do that through coaching, implementation, focused coaching. So we're actually telling you how to get the things done and working with you hand in hand to do it. We also have VA services where we're actually providing you trained VAs. We have a global centered VA service. So we have people from all over with all different expertise. And then we also have marketing services. So if you've been sitting there saying, I need a new logo, I need a website, I need emails, I need lead gen, then we have that available for you, and we keep your budget in mind. And the next step, if you're listening to this and you're like, I want to talk to her, is just to reach out. You can find me, Cori Fonville Foster, on social media. You can also always visit our website at IROC, IROC is spelled IROC, marketablebusinesssolutions.com. And you'll see all the fun things we do, along with how you can connect with us, and we can see how we can support you.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, you're absolutely talking my language. Cori is really working with people on that part of the journey. If you're listening to me for a while, I tend to work for people who are a little bit further along. And because I do truly believe that guesting on podcasts is a great way to grow your business if done correctly. And look, when I started out, still now, I am not a natural storyteller, right? And it is info tells, but stories sell. So if you're in a place and you're ready to start guesting on podcasts, and you have a very clear client journey, if you like, but you struggle with that, and that's what's holding you back, then I have created a free story bank ChatGPT that will just help you uncover the stories that actually demonstrate your expertise. So you can grab that at podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. Just have a play around with it. Once you know how to deliver the right story for you, and just build a bank of them so that you can pull them out throughout your guest appearance, go to that site, grab that. And if you are a little bit more further down the road and you are ready to turn guesting into an actual client acquisition system, then my 4-part mini course is available. You'll get it at the same link. It is, as I said, it's not free. It is $5. And as we only work with action takers, if you go through it in 5 days and complete the short assignments, then you will get a bonus training that you can't get anywhere else. It is part of my 5K offer. And that is, if you're not great at sales and you do have a 5K or 10K offer, wouldn't you love to not have to do a sales call? And that is the training that I'll be given. So you can go to that podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free, test out the story bank, and then you can get access to the course from there. Cori, it's been fantastic having you on. Love what you're doing. You're offering lots of services that people need, especially when they're just starting out. They need to have all these systems in place, and especially they need to get visible. So you've got to start implementing some of the stuff so that you can create. People aren't going to know what it is you do if you don't Post about it. So stop that. Start taking action. Cori's details will be in the show notes. So thank you once more, Cori, and to the listeners. I'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're